Facebook is giving me a little bit of feedback here for some
Hmm.
reason,
Hmm.
because that's what they do at Facebook.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. So glad that you were able to get up and join us this morning. We are live here on Strictly Business. We have our guest, Mr. Ron Gales from Southern California Edison. But before we bring him in, I got him here on the screen. But before we bring him in, I wanted to give you a little bit of information about Strictly Business. We're on every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday morning at 7 a.m. Yes, at 7 a.m., but it's 10 o'clock somewhere. So it's not so bad. We're going to get started this morning. I'll be able to talk to you about some of the upcoming events that the chamber is going to be doing and some business tips, as we always try to end the day with something you should be doing and something that you shouldn't be doing in your business. So once again, my name is Rich Wallace. You have joined Strictly Business, and we have a guest from Southern California Edison, Mr. Ron Gales. He has a lot of information, so I'm going to bring him on right away. And if you have some questions, you could put them out, and we will be sure that your questions get answered. Mr. Gales is at Southern California Edison. Now, I know we're spread from the desert to the sea, and we have people in New York and people in Texas and different things, but this is a Southern California thing. Our utility company out here, Lights and is Southern California Edison in most of the areas. Some areas have their own utility company. I think Los Angeles has their own. Pasadena may have their own. But for the most part, over the Southern California region, Southern California Edison is our utility company. So without further ado, Mr. Ron Gales, welcome to Strictly Business.
Thank you so much, Rich. Can you hear me? I hope that is this a good connection? Can you hear me pretty well?
Connection is well, sir. Very good.
Okay, great. Well, I want to thank you very much for inviting me on. It's not every day that people actually want to talk to their electric utility, but and have them on as a guest and anything. But I'm really happy to be here and share information I hope will be useful to your viewers. I think one of the topics you wanted me to talk about was time of use rates. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. People
So
need to understand what they're using and how they're using it.
that's correct. So I know that many of your, if not most of your viewers, are in the business community. In Southern California, customers of Southern California Edison, business customers have been on time of use rates for several years. But what's been happening over the last couple of years is that there's been a transition of residential customers to time of use rates. And in fact, over the last 6 or 7 months, is that correct? Yes, that's correct. Starting back last November, Southern California Edison started transitioning. It's going to be a total of about 2 million or so of its residential customers to time of use rates. And so I wanted to just share just some background on how they work. Your business customers may be familiar or they may not. They may just be getting their bills and seeing the total and saying, oh, got to pay that this month, and not really looking at the details. But I want to share this. And the first thing I want to let people know is for residential customers, time of use rates are an option. Now we're transitioning customers to that rate, residential customers to that rate, but they can choose not to be transitioned. They can say, you know what, I like the rate I'm on. But there are tools that can use to find out whether a time of use rate works for a residential customer or if it doesn't. Or there's three different kinds of time of use rate for residential customers, so they may get to choose to see which one is best for them. So if I may ask for your patience for just a second, I'm going to try and share my screen. I hope this works. Uh, going to pray to the technology gods right now and see if this works out. If you just give me a moment.
So while you're
Uh,
doing that, time of use means actual time that my lights are on. Um, what does that actually mean to someone that doesn't know?
okay, so time of use basically means that you're not only being, well, let me put it this way. On a regular residential plan, um, a time of use rate, oh, I'm sorry, a customer is billed for the amount of energy they use during their entire billing period. By the way, Rich, can you see the slide I have on the screen right now? Is
Yes,
that
it's up
working?
now.
Great.
It
Okay, terrific. Hope it's viewable. So on a regular residential rate, they call it the standard rate or the domestic rate or the sometimes called the tiered rate. It just a customer is charged for the total amount of energy they use during their monthly billing period. With a time of use rate, it's not just how much you use, but what time of day you use it. And the concept behind that is for a utility like Southern California Edison, the cost to deliver electric service to customers, it changes at different times of day. Sometimes it's more expensive to deliver the electricity, and sometimes it's less expensive. So the idea of the time of use rate is a customer, if they can shift their usage to the times of day when electricity is less expensive to use, they could save money. Is it possible? That could be more um, affordable for them. Okay, so I'm gonna just kind of jump right. I'm gonna start there and jump right in. Just keep telling me if you can still see my screen, but I'm going to talk a little bit about Southern California Edison really briefly, and I'll talk about time of use rates, and then I'll talk about some of the customer care programs and assistance we have, not just for residential customers, but for business customers as well. So, you mentioned Southern California Edison in your opening. If you can see on the screen, keep telling me if you can see it. There's
We can
a
see it. We're
Great.
good.
Okay, so there's a map of California. If you can see that yellow section, that's our service area. It's 50,000 square miles. We have 5 million customer accounts and serving about 15 million residents in the state. So it's a big service area. We go all the way up to Mono County, way up there near Mammoth, all the way to the west. We're into Santa Barbara County, down south just before San Diego County, and all the way to the east up to the Arizona border. So it's a lot of area to cover, and so we have a big job. We have a big responsibility, and I want to make really clear: our mission as a company is to provide energy that is safe, reliable, affordable, and increasingly cleaner and cleaner energy. Um, so that's a little bit about us. I'm going to talk now about uh, time of use rates. And as I explained a little earlier, the cost of electric service changes at different times of day. And here's the really the basic piece of it. The most expensive time of day to deliver electricity for not just Southern California Edison, but for most of the utilities in California is between the hours of 4 and 9 p.m. And I'll get to why that is a little later. But basically, the idea is hours before 4 p.m. during the day and after 9 p.m. is rates on a time of use plan are less expensive. So a time of use plan for a residential customer is it will benefit customers who can say, you know what, I can shift some of my energy usage. I can use my appliances, my laundry or my dishwasher, or if I have a pool, let's say a pool pump, I can schedule those to happen before 4 p.m. or after 9 p.m. And that way can take advantage of lower rates. Now, not everyone can do that. Some people say, I really can't shift that time. Some people, let's say they're a student or they work at a job where the hours are not, 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, they're working into the evening and they're not at home. That might be beneficial for them. But if that's not really feasible for your household, you have the option to stay on what's called just the traditional domestic rate. So that's kind of the idea there. And as you see on this slide, during the morning and midday, that's when the rates are lower. The early evening up until 9 p.m., that's when the rates are higher. And I have another slide here which may explain it a little better. Hopefully you can see this. But if you look on the screen here, you'll see um, if you look at what they're called is the periods when electricity is more expensive is called an on-peak period, and the periods when it's less expensive is called an off-peak or a mid-peak period. So maybe you can see here on the 4 to 9 p.m. side, if you look over to the left side of this chart here, you'll see that during the day it's it costs a certain amount represented by the $2 signs, but during that 4 to 9 p.m. period, it's the most expensive, and then after 9 p.m. it goes back to a lower rate. Weekends and holidays a little lower during the on-peak period. I want to let you also know that Southern California Edison offers a couple of variations on this time of use rate for residential customers. You can choose the 4 to 9 p.m. period, or if you say to yourself, I can do a time of use rate, but 4 to 9, that's a big spread. I don't know if I can do it for all 5 hours. Well, there's also an option to do a 5 to 8 p.m. on peak period. The rates themselves are a little higher to compensate for the fact that it's only 3 hours as opposed to 5 hours, but you can still take advantage of the lower rates during the off-peak periods that you see on there. Am I making sense, Rich? I think I'm making sense, but I can't always be sure.
It's making sense to me.
Okay, that's good. Um, so I just want to let people know that this is something, as I said, it's not just Southern California Edison. The state of California is urging its largest utilities to move its residential customers to this plan. And so don't feel like this is just something that Southern California Edison doing. It's a statewide issue. So I'm going to move to this next slide here, and this just gives a few items I want to tell people, because as you know, your viewers as a residential customers, they may have been transitioned or are going to be transitioned to a time of use rate. So all customers who are being transitioned should be getting or should have already gotten a letter via U.S. mail, a 90-day advance letter saying, hey, in 90 days, we're going to transition your account to a time of use rate, and here's the benefits, here are the things to consider. And then 30 days ahead of time, customers get another reminder that, hey, 30 days from now, we're going to transition you. You have the option during this whole time to say, you know what, I'd rather stick with the rate that I'm on, as long as you alert Edison via the ways that are listed in that letter. In that letter, there is a rate analysis. And what Edison has done for each of the customers, each of the 2 million plus customers that are going to be transitioned, they've taken a look at the energy consumption pattern for that customer. And they say, okay, let's look at what you've done on the standard domestic rate. Let's see how you would benefit if you had that same pattern if you were on the TOU 4 to 9 p.m. on peak period. And let's also look at the TOU 5 to 8 p.m. period. And it analyze and say which of the options are best for you. Hey, sometimes the analysis will say, you should stick with your standard domestic rate and not change to a time of use rate. That's the one that's most beneficial for you. Or it'll say, you would benefit the most from a time of use 5 to 8 plan. So it does that analysis for everyone. But here's a really important point. The analysis is based on your previous electric usage. It doesn't take into consideration whether you as a customer can say, hey, you know what, I can shift some of my usage. I can turn on my air conditioner a little later and turn it off for a while during that on-peak period. I don't have to have it running the whole time. Or, I could use more energy efficient appliances during the on-peak period. Or I could just use less energy altogether during those on-peak periods. It doesn't take that into consideration. So that's something the customer themselves needs to look at. And like it says here on the screen, that third little icon there, you can switch back to a tiered rate at any time. If you try it and say, you know what, this doesn't work for me, contact Edison and we'll get you back to the previous rate. But there's a little feature here I want to let you know about. It's called bill protection. So let's say you're a customer who's been transitioned, and this is residential customers, not talking about business customers. You're a residential customer and you've been paying over the course of the year, you've been paying, about $1,000 altogether on your electric bill over the course of the year. With bill protection, if you get moved or transitioned to a time of use rate, and it turns out over the course of the year, you end up paying $1,100 or $1,200, you will get that extra money credited back to you. In other words, that bill protection makes sure that you're not going to pay more on your new time of use rate than you would have on your previous tiered rate. And that's just for the first year for the customers who are switched to time of use. So it's kind of like it's kind of a way of saying, give it a try. If it works for you, that's a terrific thing. If it doesn't work for you, you're going to get whatever money you would have paid, the money you paid in addition, you're going to get that credited back to your account for up to 12 months. So
Do I
that's
have to alert?
they're
Do I
really
have to
making it
alert you if I want to change, or how to? I have
yes,
to send in a letter
yes.
because I don't want to have to call and be on hold all day. So
There's a website. There's a website that you can do it online. You can send a letter and you can call. And I will say, yes, I am going to admit that we have had challenges with some of our customer service. There's and just like throughout the economy, there have been, it's been um, challenges in terms of staffing up and other technical challenges. So there have been wait times, and we're working on that, and we apologize for the inconvenience that people are experiencing when they call our call center. We definitely own that. But I will say that if you try and call first thing in the morning, the earlier that you call, the better, the less wait time you'll probably have. People who are calling around lunchtime, it might be a while. So just a little tip about that. Um, am I good with? I still have a little more information about TOU. Is that all right, Rich?
You good? Yeah, you're good. Let's go.
Okay. So as I said, how do you know which rate plan will be best for you? So you can go online at sce.com and uh, fill out what's called a rate plan tool, and it'll ask you some questions, and you put in the information, and it'll make a suggestion for you. Is it better for you to stay on a standard domestic rate? Is it better for you to change to a TOU 4 to 9 p.m.? The same thing still applies, though, as I said before. It's just going to look at your previous usage, it doesn't take into consideration what changes you as a customer feel that you can make. So um, the address for that rate plan tool is just as it says there, if you can see it on the screen, www.se.com/rate plan tool, and that can do a rate plan comparison for you. I forgot to mention one thing. I talked to you about a TOU 4 to 9 p.m. on peak period and a TOU 5 to 8 p.m. period. There's one more flavor of TOU I want to let your listeners know about, your viewers know about. It's called TOU Prime, and that is specifically Prime, like in Prime TV, right? But TOU Prime, and that is specifically for customers who have energy efficient technology like an electric vehicle, or if you are one of those customers who are on kind of the leading edge and you have battery storage in your home, or if you have a heat pump in your HVAC system, a really efficient heat pump, or there's some other technologies as well. But if you have those technologies and you sign up for TOU Prime, that has some of the lowest off-peak periods of any of our rates. And that's because Edison, like the state of California, wants to incentivize people to adopt these technologies in their homes. More electric vehicles, and we may talk about that a little later in your show. More heat pumps, electric heat pumps for the HVAC system, and more battery storage. So this is a way of saying if you have those technologies, or if you're thinking about using them and you use them during the off-peak period, you're going to pay some of the lowest rates anywhere for your electricity. So I just want to make your audience aware of that. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about, we've been talking about rates a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about the customer assistance, because some customers, especially nowadays, with the challenges of the pandemic, with the challenges of inflation, their customers are having some trouble sometimes paying their bills. So we have money saving tools and programs. If you go to sce.com bill help, it'll tell you more about them. And I was going to talk a little bit more about them a little later on in your show. But there is assistance for people who are meeting certain income thresholds. If they make less than that income threshold, they can get discounts on their monthly bill. They can get debt forgiveness in certain cases. For people who are above that income threshold, there's still options for those folks, and that includes payment extensions. We'll give you an extra 30 days to pay the bill, or payment arrangements. Let's say you have a past due balance that's a tough nut to crack. We can work out a plan where you take that overdue balance and we'll spread it out over 12 months so you can pay it off over time. So a lot of options. Don't feel that that there's no options when you're looking at a bill that's going to be tough. And again, this is for residential customers. And maybe a little later on, we'll talk about some of the options for business customers. The last bit I'm going to talk about here is a little bit related. It's a little bit of a tangent, but there's these organizations that are called they're called community choice aggregators is what they're called. And one of them that serves the Los Angeles area is called the Clean Power Alliance. There's others that serve other parts of our service area. And so some of your audience may be members of these CCAs, these community choice aggregators. And what those are, they basically share customers with Southern California Edison. Generally, there are kind of three big broad buckets of what an electric utility does. They generate electricity through power plants or through dams or through large wind farms. They create the electricity. That's called generation. Then they take from where it's being generated and transmit it over very large power lines to where people need it, and that's called transmission. And then there's a part that where you take that large amount of energy and you kind of break it up into smaller pieces so it can be delivered and used by homes and businesses, and that's called distribution. So if you are a customer of only Southern California Edison, Southern California Edison does all of that for you. But if you're a shared customer with a community choice aggregator like the Clean Power Alliance, the CCA will do the generation part. They'll buy the electricity, and they do that because in their eyes, they feel that they can get better deals or they can get cleaner energy. But Southern California Edison still will deliver that energy across our wires, across our whole electric grid. So if people have heard about CCAs or the Clean Power Alliance or things like that out in the desert area, I think there's something called Desert Community Energy. There's several of these that are in California. So if you have a bill, you're going to get a joint bill. It's going to say Southern California Edison on it, but it's really a joint bill between SCE and the community choice aggregator if you're a member of that. So on the bill, hopefully you can see this, hopefully it's not too small. It's going to show two accounts. It's going to show a delivery side account, and that's Southern California Edison, and a generation side account, and that's going to be the community choice aggregator. And it'll look like this. So it'll say the delivery section, and that's everything from Southern California Edison, and the generation section from the CCA. So I just wanted to share that because people may have heard about CCAs and wonder what it's all about. We've heard that CCAs are competition to Southern California Edison. That's not really the case because we share those customers. Edison will still deliver the energy through its grid. Edison is the company that still generates the bill. It still does the customer service. If there's a problem and someone needs to come out, it's still Southern California Edison that does that. So just a little information about how Southern California Edison works in conjunction with community choice aggregators. So I've talked a lot. I hope I've made sense during this whole time. And I wonder, do you have any questions, Rich, on what I've talked about?
Well, yeah, I do. A couple of things. I got a question. Does solar really work and help on your utility bill? If they decide in putting solar on the roof, does that work with Southern California Edison? Are people actually making money, or is that part of what you associate with when people are dealing with solar energy? And would that help if they go out and spend $10,000 and put solar on their roof? Their light bill, is that going to profit to them within a few years, or how does that really work? Do you know anything? Does that have anything?
Sure. I can address that very broadly. So Southern California Edison is very much supports solar energy. I mean, we have connected more than 400,000 customers over the past several years to. So we've connected 400,000 solar customers to the grid, and solar energy both from a residential and small business rooftop standpoint, and also from the perspective of large solar farms that are, and I'm referring to, let's say, if you've ever driven out to Las Vegas and you've seen on just before you hit the Nevada state line, there's this huge solar farm out there. I think it's called the Ivanpah Generating Station. We get energy from there as well. And it's really important because California has some very aggressive goals in terms of clean energy and using energy that emits less greenhouse gas emissions. So we're very much pro solar. we don't connect solar. I mean, we won't install solar. There are individual companies that install solar and do the solar panels, but you'll connect to our grid if you're a customer of Southern California Edison. In terms of, is it a good deal? That is really something for um, each individual customer to determine. Um, it's there's really no blanket answer. I will say that I'm a solar customer, and one thing I can definitely say is if you're generating more energy than your home or your business is using, you're going to be exporting that excess energy back into the grid, and you get compensated for it. And what that mostly will do is reduce your electric bill. I mean, your electric bill will, ideally be, positively impacted. You'll have a smaller electric bill, and I can testify that that's what's happening for me just as a customer. In terms of making money or being profitable, again, that's like an individual. Um, uh, it really depends on how much excess generation a customer can ends up exporting back to the grid. That's going to depend on how much they use, how large their solar array is, and I'm pretty sure that there are kind of regulations on how big the solar array can be depending upon the size of the rooftop. So, and depending on the customer's capacity. So it's not like someone who has a house can suddenly, buy a whole, solar farm and suddenly have something that matches up with what they have out there in the desert. There are certain regulations on how much solar capacity each property can have based on their size. So it can certainly be profitable for customers, but at the very least, what it's going to be is reducing um, the electric bill for that customer. And in terms of the payback period, right now in California, with the compensation that's being given for that excess generation, the payback periods have been something like, maybe 5 years. I know my wife and I, it took us about 8 or 9 years in terms of when we ended up basically the system paying for itself. And all that time, though, what it really helps is with the monthly cash flow because you're paying less on your total electricity bill. But that may change in the future. The incentives that are out there for rooftop solar customers have been there for many, many years. Those incentives were initially designed when California had 10,000 solar rooftops and the state wanted to have more, so they put in these incentives. Well, California now has more than 1 million residential solar rooftops, and the state is looking at whether those incentives, which made sense when rooftop solar was still in its early phases, if they still make sense now that rooftop solar is really a mainstream product at this point. The issue with that is that those incentives for those customers, they're actually being paid by customers who don't have solar. And a lot of
Mm.
times those customers who don't have solar are customers who can't afford it. Or let's say they live in a multi-family dwelling. They don't have the choice to put solar on. But those extra costs that come from those incentives, those get shifted over to those customers. So that's why California is looking at those incentives because, yeah, they made sense when we hardly had any rooftop solar in the state, but now it's everywhere. Like I said, more than 1 million solar rooftops in California. So do those incentives still make sense? It's not going to happen overnight. So if someone right now, if any of your listeners or viewers are considering adding rooftop solar to their property, if you're on the fence about it, now's a good time to really run the numbers and see if it works for you. Because there may be changes in the compensation that is given for solar because those incentives they may no longer line up with reality.
Okay.
Did I
Well,
answer your question, Rich?
yeah, you did, because there's a lot of small people are looking at businesses to be a part of now.
Mm-hmm.
What should I go into? I've had several conversations with people that are looking at starting business, and they go, "Well, I could create a solar farm, and put these out here and sell this utilities back to the Edison company and make a bunch of money at it." So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times when you go into business, you don't have all of the full details, and
Mm-hmm.
there's no one on the Edison side to tell you, well, you can make it, but it pretty much is for residential and balancing your bill unless you have a large solar farm. And like you say, there's a lot of regulations. So
Hmm.
I say to my business people that are listening, look up these regulations and rules before you go out and buy a bunch of dirt and start putting up solar farms. And
Well,
they
also you can contact Southern California Edison, and we can give some really basic. And we can't, run the numbers for your individual case, but we can give basic information about what works and what doesn't. I want to add, there is kind of an in between step between either being an individual rooftop solar customer or being a large solar farm. Um, there are things that are being developed that's called community solar, and that's where um, it's almost like a co-op in the sense that a number of customers can get together, and let's say there's a community garden. I'm just making this up right now,
Mhm.
but there's some space that they have they want to put a solar array in that community garden. And what'll happen is each customer who's in, I'm making up the numbers, but let's say there are 10 customers, they each can have a share of that community solar. So there are that's another option for people. It's not just either you just have it on your rooftop or you become one of these huge, solar farms, which is very expensive and really, that's really something for big corporations to do. So there are options about that. Off the top of my head, I don't have the contact information for, who at Southern California Edison people can talk to about that. But in this show, if people want to email me, I'm happy to give my email address. I'll make sure that their inquiries about that get directed to the right person.
Okay, that's an interesting point. I noticed that a lot of the school districts are now putting solar over their parking lot, so they'll
Hmm.
have the covering of the parking lot, and the top of it is solar. So
Hmm.
a lot of the school districts in the Inland Empire and around are now utilizing that. And I'm thinking, okay, that's a good concept, but they're looking at saving money through their
Hmm.
system. Now, you
Mhm.
mentioned one other thing, and that is the big thing that's going on now is the electric cars.
Yeah.
So you're saving money on gas. You're not paying $6 a gallon for gas. Is my light bill going up because I'm plugging in my car every night?
Well, the answer to that is in a way, I kind of touched on that in the time of use section,
Okay.
um, where if you have an electric vehicle and I really encourage customers who have an electric vehicle to uh, get onto the TOU Prime program, because if you have an electric vehicle and you charge your vehicle on the off-peak hours, it's going to be much less expensive. If you charge it during the 4 to 9 or 5 to 8 p.m. period, it will be expensive, but any of the other hours, it'll be much less expensive. So, yeah, I really urge people who have an electric vehicle or being Southern California Edison customers who have an electric vehicle or who are considering one, yeah, be on the TOU prime rate. Now that's residential customers. I'm sorry, I wish I was a little more conversant in the rates for fleets. I believe there are deals for business customers who have fleets who they want to electrify their fleet. I can't speak knowledgeably about those programs, but just as someone who's worked at Edison for a long time and knowing how important it is for our company and for the state for greater vehicle electrification, I really feel confident that we have some programs for customers who want to electrify their fleet. I mean, one of the things I did want to talk to you about is that we definitely have programs for business customers who are looking to add charging stations on their property.
Mhm.
Let's say if you are the owner of a multifamily dwelling or several of them, there are programs where you can get discounts, or it can be really beneficial for you because you might even have the opportunity to, on top of the charges for the electricity, add your own profit to that. So there are customers, let's say if you, as I said, like a multifamily dwelling, you mentioned schools, there are programs, rate schedules or rate plans for commercial customers that are public sector. Or let's say you have a commercial building, you're working at a commercial real estate and you want to install charging stations on your property. Southern California Edison is really willing to help you and has a lot of programs for that. And that's because, as I mentioned before, the state of California has some very aggressive greenhouse gas reduction goals. And one of the key ways that it's going to achieve those goals is by electrifying transportation, by getting away from the combustion engine, gasoline driven, fossil fuel driven cars. And the more we can do that, the more we can reduce greenhouse gas emissions in the state. I'm sorry, I got off on a little tangent there, but I
Well,
hope
no,
I
no,
answered the
no. I mean,
question.
people are interested in that because it appears as that we're being, and I don't want to use the word, but it appears that we're being forced into electric cars here in the state of California. They put out a number saying that in maybe 5 or 10 years, all cars will be electric. I think one of my cars is 20 years old, so and I love it. So, uh, I'm a residential customer that is probably, and then I'm 70, so I'm looking at not buying an electric car.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'll save money on gas, but is my light bill going to go up? And that's what people are trying to weigh right now.
Hmm.
Is that okay? This gas, it's costing me $100 to fill up my car,
Hmm.
or more. It costs me 150 to fill up my car if it's empty.
Right.
With the prices of gas today, and that gas will last me probably, because I drive a lot, probably 2 days.
Hmm.
So I'm spending $300 a week in gas. Is And if you times that times 4 weeks and go through that, or how much it is a month, okay. If I buy an electric car, is my light bill now going to go up to 300 a week, along with where my cable bill is this, and all of these
Right.
things are coming into my utility costs.
Hmm.
So am I really going to be saving money moving forward, maybe in the long run?
Hmm.
But today, in the
You're looking at
society that
today.
we live in, we have the microwave mentality. I need an answer now. you know
Again, I would say it's running the numbers, but what I will say for each individual customer, but what I will say is that I want to just comment on what you said about being forced to. I think I would look at it like what's being happened is there are a lot of really beneficial options being made for people. I don't see, um, I personally, I'm not an expert in this, but I don't see gas stations going away. I don't see
Yeah,
fuel going away. It's kind of like, you're just going to add a few more channels to your TV, right? It's not like
yeah,
ABC, CBS, and NBC went away. It's just now there's more channels to look at too, right? And that's going to be kind of the thing with the fuel options. In terms of an electric vehicle, um, right now, I would say there are a lot of incentives, like as we're discussing, for people to transition to electric transportation. So, what part of that is things like that TOU prime rate for residential customers. They're making the rates for people who adopt those technologies lower, and that's to incentivize people to adopt those technologies. So that's right now. In the longer term, I mean, the idea behind this kind of virtuous cycle is, the more renewable energy we use, the more renewable energy that the state of California, listen, and the country uses, a lot of that renewable energy is getting less and less expensive than fossil fuel energy. Okay, so that's kind of like that idea with the time of use rate. During times of day, that electricity is less expensive to deliver. So as that cleaner energy, that less expensive, cleaner energy, it becomes more and more abundant, that's gonna there's going to be incentives for people to adopt electric vehicles and those technologies because it'll be cheaper running on electricity than it will be on fossil fuels. Okay, so hopefully, and it just, again, the more renewable energy, the more cheaper energy, the more it's abundant, the more people can go to electric vehicles and say, hey, it's cheaper for me to um, fill up my electric car with electricity than it is to fill up my combustion engine car with gasoline, right? And the other thing is, from what I'm told, is from what I understand, again, this is not my specialty, but electric vehicles are much less maintenance over the time, over their lifetime. So there's also that aspect. Again, it's an individual decision. There are some people. Listen, Rich, I heard you talking about your old car you love. I wouldn't dream of asking you to change it, right? But if
yeah,
you got, kids or neighbors or whichever who
yeah,
are looking at, hey, how can I drive? A, reduce my kind of share of energy wallet, or the energy aspect of my share of wallet, over a longer term. Yeah, I think electric vehicles is something to really consider. And again, there are plenty of incentives for people, not just to buy new electric cars, but Edison has a program where even if you buy a used electric car, you can get a lot of credit on your electric bill. And I would, again, I apologize for not knowing off the top of my head exactly who to call, but if you go on SCE.com and search for electric vehicles, you can find all the kinds of programs we have. Listen, while I hope I'm not talking too much here, but I just do have
No,
some
no.
notes here about the deals for business customers. Our
Okay.
overall electric vehicle program is called Charge Ready. Okay, so that's why you may have heard about that. And that really is about incentivizing the electrification of transportation. So Charge Ready, we have programs for passenger vehicles and light duty vehicles. There's a lot of emphasis on things like electric buses and electric heavy duty vehicles, because those vehicles actually are the largest emitters of air pollution, not just greenhouse gases, but air pollution. So electrifying those large vehicles, that's going to be that's going to make the real dent in things like air pollution and things like greenhouse gases. So looking at electrifying all levels of transportation. So I just want to tell your listeners about 3 Charge Ready program options for business customers. So for commercial, for multifamily, and for public sector properties, they all could be eligible for savings if they are interested in adding charging stations to their commercial properties. SCE will pay for all the infrastructure from our facilities to the charging station stub outward. They'll also give you a rebate for the charging stations. The stations will be the customers. They can even charge others a fee to use the stations. The commitment is 10 years. It could even be a turnkey process where Edison does everything for you. So you know what? I'm going to try and put in the chat, or you know what I'll do? I'll send you the email.
Okay.
But there's a place on SCE.com, and I'll say it kind of slow so people get it. But go to SCE.com, do a /, it says EV business, and then another / that says Charge Ready. Or even if you go to SCE.com and just do the search function, put Charge Ready, you're going to get a ton of information about all the kinds of opportunities that are out there for both residents and business customers.
And that's fantastic. Now, can I put a charging station at my house?
I don't know if you would need it. You would just need the right kind of hookup for your individual vehicle. Are you
No,
talking
I
about a
want to
charging
bootleg some.
station?
I want to bootleg some power from my neighbor next door.
I got to tell you, I cannot answer that question
Okay.
definitively. That's not really my area. I'm more in the rates and bills area and time of use and things like that. But again, go to the website, go to and just search for electric vehicle or EV, and you'll see a whole range of programs that you can get hooked up with. And if you're having trouble, again, your listeners, email me, ron.gales, Gales, at sce.com. I'll get your message to the right people.
Fantastic. So I want to say to the people, I want to go back just one step and say that if you're interested in looking at an electrical vehicle, especially a used one, before you buy, go to Southern California Edison's website and see what benefits you have. So when you are out negotiating that deal, you can think about some of the money that you're going to be able to save on your utility bill with some of the programs that Southern California Edison has on used electric vehicles. So if you're weighing like I am between buying one, you say, well, I'm not going to buy a new Tesla for sure, but I may get one that someone had for a year or so and it's in great condition. And the fear of the mechanics not knowing what to do with an electric vehicle is part of the fear of people purchasing them. But you made a statement that we believe that they don't break down as much. The fan belts don't break as much. They don't need an oil change as often or whatever the case.
There's fewer moving parts. It's
Yeah,
more of
fewer
a
moving
computerized
parts.
system as opposed to kind of And I'm speaking very generally here, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't come to me with an electric vehicle. Say, hey, look, I just found there's
yeah.
just as many moving parts. I'll say you win, right? But
Yeah,
in
yeah.
general, the maintenance. Listen, I hear all the time about trade schools offering classes for auto repair of electric vehicles. I mean, this is a burgeoning new field, and it's a um, something that it's part of the industry that's growing.
Yeah, man. And that's fantastic. And we need growth and change as we're trying to figure out, navigate our way through this system. Um, so as you take a look, because I was really interested in the electric vehicle part, and I think a lot of the residential customers are trying to figure out what kind of car should I buy, and what if I do buy it. I know my son was here from DC, and they rented an electric vehicle,
Hmm.
and we were trying to figure out will it plug into the wall. And so once we figured out, we plugged it in and got all of that going. And I'm thinking in my mind, is this raising my light bill now? Is this going to cost me an arm and a leg because he's plugging up this car overnight so he can drive all day the next day? And I'm thinking, okay, I didn't really see any big change in the light bill from that because I was waiting for the bill to look to see. Uh, so I guess it averaged out. But as we move forward into this new technology in this new age, people are trying to, because we hear on the news there's a lot of job offers out there, but there's a work shortage. So people are not going back to work. They're trying to work from home, but they're also looking at businesses to be a part of.
Hmm.
What can I do to open up my own business? And the energy saving technology industry is wide open if you can think outside of the box on what to do. Uh, I'm from a time frame that you would have told me they would have had electric cars, 30, 40 years ago. I'm like, no, you got to be out of your mind. So, but I didn't think they'd be selling water today either. So, uh,
Hey, can I just kind of wedge
yeah.
myself into a little part of your conversation?
Mhm.
Talking about business, people looking for business opportunities. I want to talk a little bit to the um, business customers, or people who are either who own their own businesses or running their own businesses. Is that part of your
Yes.
audience?
Yeah, that's part of my audience. That's a
So,
big part.
so I really want to let people know about a program at Edison. So we're switching gears a little bit here. They're called strategic energy management audits. And so, like I said, if you have a retail business, storefront retail business, or if you have some kind of manufacturing, these can really help. So what they do is they work with customers. This program, we have these consultants will do these audits where they identify areas of energy waste in a company and areas of high energy usage and energy savings opportunity. They basically will walk through your business, and inside the company we call these treasure hunts, because what we're finding are ways that customers, their facilities, and kind of energy coaching, they can cut their energy bill down. Listen, if you're a business, small businesses or medium sized business or any kind of manufacturing or something like that, that can give you an edge because you're going to be paying less on your electric bill and you can use that money more for other areas, right? So it's this is kind of a, we call it a whole building program. It identifies energy waste as well as possible capital improvements. Some of the fixes can also be low cost or no cost operational improvements. Let's say you have an inefficient air compressor. So listen, or the other thing these audits will do will identify air leaks in your at your facilities, because one of the issues is, let's say you've got your air conditioning a facility, right? If your air conditioning, a lot of that air is escaping, your air conditioner is working harder, and that's more electricity. So a lot of the things they can do is identify leaks that will we have leak detection equipment, and we can help identify where those are. So your property, if it has those leaks, can seal those off, and then your air conditioner or whatever your HVAC system is working less hard, using less energy, it's saving you money. So I can go on about this, but what I'm told here on these notes that I have, that for some of these industrial customers, we've had customers who saved about over $100,000 a year in operating savings for each year because they're using less energy. So I really want to let your business customers know. Again, it's called Strategic Energy Management Program. They're like audits of your business property on how it can run more efficiently. And like I said, that money that you save on energy, you can use for other parts of your business. Again, I don't have the contact information there, but contact me directly. Ron.Gales, Gales at sce.com. I'll get your inquiry to the right people at Edison. So I just wanted your business customers to know about that. That's really important. They could be just leaving money on the table because they're paying more for energy that's being not efficiently used. The more efficient you are, the less you have to pay on your electric bill, and the more you can put that money into other areas of your business.
I know my parents used to say, "Close that door. You, all my electricity is getting out." So if you're a small business and there are gaps in there, then you are losing money because you're taking more electricity to light your place or to warm your place or whatever it is that you're using it for. But if there's a crack in the door, it's getting out, and you don't know that your bill is high because the window's always up or whatever it is the case may be. But as we start trying to fit, so I say to the small business people, go to the Edison's website and get a representative to come out and do that walkthrough and have them analyze your business. And I do believe that's a free thing that at Southern California Edison does for small businesses, that they come out and they kind of analyze and tell you how to save money on your utilities as you move forward.
Again, I don't know. I can't say that definitively, but if it's not free, it's definitely very low cost. It could very well could be free. I'm not as familiar with the program, but definitely. And I want to emphasize something. The consultants are not just going to come out there and tell you to, close your door or seal this crack. I mean, they're going to look at how your business operates and see and make suggestions like if you especially if you're a business. I mean, businesses are on time of use rates. Our business customers are all required to be on time of use rate. So they can talk about, hey, if you run this set of machinery, this very high energy consumption set of machinery before 4 or after 9, and during that 4 to 9 p.m. period, you either run it at a lower rate or you shut it off, and during that on peak period, you're doing maintenance around your facility. And then turn it back on after the on-peak period is over. That's another way you could be saving energy. So I just gave you like a rough approximation. I'm not the expert, but those folks can come and really not just give simple explanations, but they can propose some ideas on how to run your facility in a way that's going to be much more energy efficiency. And like I said, they can do it for industrial customers. You do it for retail storefront customers as well. So again, it's called the Strategic Energy Management audits, and get in touch with Edison to see if we can do that for your business.
Okay, that sounds great, Ron. So I'm going to recap real quick so that the people are putting things in the chat, and you will probably be getting a few emails, looks like. But consider the charging stations for small businesses, an opportunity to draw customers to you. And while that car is charging, maybe they're in shopping. Also, an opportunity to have Edison come out and analyze your business to help save energy or where you should be saving energy at. So here's a couple of things that you can walk away with today that you can tangibly say that, okay, let me get a hold of Southern California Edison to find out what we can do here and what we can do in this area. As for residential customers, another opportunity to be able to save energy on your cost, on your monthly utility bill, a way to be able to, if you're in a struggling situation and you can't pay your full bill, you can call Edison and they will make some arrangements or some adjustments for you, or to find out if you're on the right plan or not. I didn't realize that there were separate plans at Edison. You'd have your lights turned on and you just pay the bill, but you could be on a different schedule. I know that if you're a senior, I've gotten things in the mail that has asked me to be on a different kind of plan because of being a senior, that type of thing, that you can adjust your bill for Social Security if you're on different types of aid, that you can be on a different plan at Edison, and they will also give you an opportunity to or talk to you about the best way to be able to when to turn on your dishwasher and when to try to do your laundry and these types of things. So all of
Rich,
these things.
may I interrupt for just a second?
Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
I apologize, but you reminded me of two really important things. I'll touch on them really fast.
Mhm.
For your listeners who either you or you have family who have medical equipment, let's say you need they need some kind of life support equipment that's electrically driven. There's a program called a medical baseline allowance, and what that does, it provides. It's a little complicated to explain, but basically, it provides more of the energy that that customer uses for their medical equipment. They can get a lower rate for that energy. Okay, so I
Mm.
really going to urge any of your listeners, if you have relatives or friends who have life support equipment that's driven by electricity, get in touch with Edison and get them on what's called a medical baseline program. It's going to save them money. It's really, again, an opportunity for people. If you're someone who needs that medical equipment for life support, you really need to be on that program because that will help you lower your bill. And one more thing I want to talk about really quick because it's coming up. We're doing this broadcast on May 12th. May 20th is the deadline. This is a separate thing. I'm jumping around here, but
Okay.
we have a program called the Line Worker Scholarship Program. It's a partnership with our local International Brotherhood of Electric Workers, and we want to provide opportunities for a diverse range of people to become line workers at Southern California Edison.
Mm.
And it's really focused, I'm going to say, it's really focused on African American participants because there's really, I'm going to be straight about it. There's
Mm.
not enough African American line workers in our workforce, and we want to change that. So this program, um, it offers, not only required training on how to become a line worker, but it can offer help with support services like housing, transportation, and childcare. The scholarships can be up to 25,000 per recipient. So really, I mean, I had a video. I don't think we have time for it now. Maybe I'll send it to you. You can show it on a future
Mhm.
broadcast. But it shows that more about this program, really looking to train and hire more African Americans in our line worker workforce. And this scholarship program, again called the Line Worker Scholarship Program, is a really a great opportunity. So again, I'll send you that information,
Please
Rich,
do. Yeah.
after this broadcast, and please share it. It's an annual scholarship, so if you miss the deadline this year, it'll happen again next year. But I just want your audience to know about it because I think it's an important issue for us. We're a very diverse company. I've worked at Edison for 15 years. I've never worked at a company with greater diversity. We have statistics showing that up to 70% of our entire workforce is either female or of Asian or African American or Hispanic heritage. So it's something that's really important to us, but we see that we don't have enough African Americans in our line worker force. So this is why we're involved in this program.
Okay. Real quick, what is a line worker? That the guy that climbs the
Well,
pole?
that's the person who climbs the pole and
Yeah.
fixes the wires.
Fixes the wires.
And
Okay.
they're
All
the
right.
heart. I gotta say, I want to give a shout out to them. They're the heart and soul of Southern California Edison. They're the people who are out there every day making sure the power is running, and it's really rewarding. Not just as a career, but also just personally knowing that you're keeping people's lights on. So that's what a line worker is.
Okay. Yeah. Because that pole is tall. I've seen those poles.
And you know what? Those guys who, or I shouldn't even say guys because there are women as well, but those folks who work on those lines, those are, pardon my
That's
language,
the
they're
heart and
studs
soul.
out there. Those
Yeah.
those are those are our
For the line
cowboys
work.
out there.
Yes. For the line workers.
Hmm.
Fantastic. All right, Ron, thanks again for coming out. We applaud you. We applaud your time and your service, and we really appreciate you getting up and being a part of Strictly Business this morning. So you will be getting some emails, and I see you gave your email out, and my people have already sent it out, and we just really appreciate you coming on, being a part of Strictly Business. My name is Rich Wallace. Join us tomorrow. We're going to have some inviting guests tomorrow. We're going to have a lady that owns her own winery and another lady that has her own furniture store. I think we have 4 young women that are going to be on tomorrow's show, and they're going to be talking about women in power and women in business. This is Strictly Business. My name is Rich Wallace. We have a lot of events coming up. Our next big event is going to be in Long Beach, so look forward for that. Go to our website at blackchamberofcommerce.org, and you will be able to get some information. Strictly Business, we're going to be separating and having their own links and website pretty soon. But once again, my name is Rich Wallace. This is Strictly Business. That was Ron Gales from Southern California, Edison. Thank you so much, Ron, for being a part of this. And we will see you guys tomorrow, same time, 7 a.m. Get ready, because this is strictly business. Thank you.